we interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm back. That still has a nice beat to it. Still seated twerking to bounce. New Year. And that song still has a vibe in 2025. Also, it's time for a new intro. I am in with a podcast change. I added the F.A.A.F.O to it. But I'm back with the same formula that has allowed me to be successful in the past. I've set realistic intention. I plan on being present and following through, but I still intend to remain petty and hold grudges. Not all intentions need to be positive. Also, I will be unengaged and unbothered by people and things in my life that do not serve me. That means parasitic people, unsolicited judgments, biased newspapers, and mainstream banks. I will not apologize for maintaining my mental peace. Happy and unbothered and at peace because I'm at unbothered. All day, every day, being unbothered is my way. Join me. Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. So take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Where's to know and where's to grow, a temporal rainbow. I can be anything. So take a look, it's in a book, a temporal rainbow. A temporal rainbow. A temporal rainbow. I always wonder how it would be to wanting a more fabulous life than what you were actually given. Also, not being bitter about it or not letting you stop it. Grab life by the horns as much as you possibly can. And not necessarily living vicariously through your superstar kids or their friends, but having your own fabulosity. How does that feel? I think as I continue to listen to Matriarch, number one, I really am going to have to get the book. And I think it's available here locally, but I'll probably order it from my own bookstore to support my own dream. Got to make that algorithm happy, y'all. But also, Miss Tina Knowles was someone prior to becoming somebody's girlfriend and somebody's wife and somebody's mother. It's like the sum of her existence basically came out genetically, combined therefore to make the superstars that we know now as Beyonce and Solange Knowles. Now I know where Beyonce got her name from because that was actually Miss Tina's maiden name. But I wonder where Solange, the root of that name, came from. Because I can't imagine, oh yes, I actually can. It probably has some meaning either from history or from someone that she met and means more. It has such meaning that all of the deeper meaning of that culminates into who she would eventually become and what the burden she had to live up to. because that's what we see. In the first part of this book, we see Tina's family start from a former sugar plantation of Weeks Island to Galveston, then to Houston, LA, then back to Galveston. We see her give up a portion of her young life to take care of her ailing family, whose anxiety, her mother's anxiety, and her fear, which was genuine fear of the world killing her kids because of who they were, their beauty, and all of those things. And even though her brother's life could have been ended, her cousin's life could have been ended, who lived as openly gay in the South, no less, at that time. But he found still somewhat safety in his own family. His outlet was creativity and clothes. How she seemed to just have the luck of the draw, and favor is not fair. How she was arrested for a minor traffic violation. Her family was harassed for years. They were Rodney King before Rodney King was even born. She strip searched and he attempted to be humiliated. And it took a call from a well-known white lawyer in Galveston at that time to end the harassment. And they only harassed them because they could not bully them into submission. And she took it all in stride. The way it was told in the book, it was just matter of fact. And it was her truth, and it was also the reality of so many of us, then as well as now. Not a lot has changed. I say all of those things to say that she lived a life where it would have probably broken so many. She could have given up. She could have had a complex. And she could have very well have ended it all. But she chose to continue to live because what was the alternative? She wanted to experience everything that life could give her. And she just wanted to not have to do it stooped or apologetically. How can you apologize for being a dope individual? Who would want to? Who would want to bow and scrape? She wouldn't allow herself to go out like that and be subjected to the continual abuse from them nuns. However, I think, and what I suspect, because what I know or have read or heard about in the tabloids, with her years of the cheating and his own misogyny, Matthew knows what she actually lived through then, but she still is stately and elegant woman she is today. This book is just like the iceberg that jacked up the Titanic. You only saw a tip of it above water, but there was a even greater and more dangerous portion right under the surface, the size of a continent. But it didn't destroy her because 70 some odd years later, we're here, or I'm here, listening, getting ready to buy the book, and talking about it for multiple weeks on my podcast. This book is just like an onion. It's going to make you cry if you don't peel it underwater. But there's something to learn, and it's more fascinating the more each layer that you peel back. Now the first part of the book basically ends in her early 20s and right when she meets Matthew Knowles. And this is after she almost gets caught up in the riptide out in Galveston because one of her then boyfriends prior to Matt Knowles wouldn't listen to her. Black folks in Galveston know about the riptides and how to survive the waters. He didn't want to listen and got caught up and cut up on the stones, the rocks she told him not to swim for, because he just wouldn't listen to skinny, tall, beautiful Tina Knowles. Wow. But she lived here to tell about it, and for that I'm glad. Entertaining, also very informative, and also uplifting, because again, she went through a whole bunch of things that would have broken anybody. But little bit bruised, not broken, and here to give you a fabulous wash, blowout. You can actually write entire executive orders trying to silence or disrupt Harvard. You can actually send text and tweets to bully Harvard into submission. You can have your illiterate sounding or writing Secretary of Education write what she thought was a firmly worded threat to Harvard to become as racist and backwards thinking as this conservative fascist majority. But you fail to remember or recognize the $1 billion endowment for this elite university financed by heads of state internationally. And you don't think that not using at least AI or Grammarly, which is AI driven, to write a letter that somebody is not going to get a hold of this letter and be just as petty and then post it online. I don't know if it was somebody from Harvard's administration, one of the TAs, or probably one of these gangster, no, I don't have anything to lose millennials that's really tired of your BS and if you want the smoke, they gonna give it to you. And how embarrassing that is to have a letter from the Secretary of Education with red ink all over, correcting everything and making suggestions in the margin like you are the dumbass that you are coming off as. If you're going to do the bidding of a dumbass, you're going to be accused of doing dumbass things, and it's going to be shown online because that's the digital world that we live in. And also, remember your place. You barely got an education, a GED, and you going up against Harvard and send them some nonsense? Girl, bye. Shut up and get out of our face. Money can't buy you class, but it can sure buy you spell check. Girl, use it. Pettiluya. 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 If you are petty, you don't have to get petty. Pettiluya. Pettiluya. If you are petty, you don't have to get petty. You know, my reactions may not be like everybody else's reactions to the current state of the economy, this country, and government, because I voted for the other guy, literally. There is no way I could legit vote for a felon with a bad weave and looks like Cheeto powder. I'm just not. I run the risk of them playing in my face even more, but I am what I am. I am a person that sponsors my own podcast. I have no sponsors. I pay for my access to this platform. So go figure. I'm also probably getting ready to not post on YouTube because I think I'm hidden because of my stance and because of my just even the title of what I actually have said. And I really don't care. I'm kind of over Google anyways. How can you rename a whole body of water? It doesn't show up like that on the World Atlas. And you're confusing already partially illiterate kids in the United States. Dumb. I'm mad at both Google Maps, Apple, and the stupid maps. Y'all talking me to death. I don't get it. You capitulated to a fool. So, with that said, I can only govern my own reactions to things. I miss things and when I am distracted by nonsense. So every time you come at me with some other stupidity, I'm not going to be able to listen to you. And I only listen to what I actually care to listen to, if it makes sense. And a lot of what's going on now doesn't make any sense. For example, I'm not going to get really bent out of shape because they've been blaming a lot of things on DEI, even though we're the least amount of people, African Americans that is, that are affected by it. Mostly it's white women and others. But go figure. I'm not. I hate other people that are so out of touch and misinformed when they actually try to explain the rationale behind this supposed blockbuster budget bill. Y'all are still blaming Obama for a lot of things, and he ain't been in office since 2016. What I do realize, and I got facts, I only respond to facts. And I'm not going to respond to these diversionary tactics. I'm not going to respond to you lying about white folks post-apartheid South Africa. Why are you looking the president of South Africa dead in his face about something that is such an egregious lie? Just because somebody printed off some extreme right blog post does not make it true. You got a whole bunch of white folks from South Africa, including that plastic face fool muskrat that is running your one of your government think tanks and dogging it up. But they're over here completely illegally. You're basically deporting Americans illegally, but you're accepting these white refugees off of a lie. No, they're not being persecuted. They're lying. What is actually happening is they may be victims of some very violent crimes, but they don't get a pass because they're white. No, there is no such thing as reverse apartheid. There is no such thing as like murder with pogroms running y'all up out of there. They're not stooping to the level that apartheid, which is Jim Crow on crack, did to us down in South Africa. No, we're not doing that egregious thing, but they are lying. And don't play in this international leader's face, because he looked at you like we look at you, like you damn crazy. What you're trying to do is deflect from the fact that your policy, that we are deeper and deeper in debt. Moody's, right along with the S&P and Fitch, has downgraded our credit rating for the first time in decades. And now that's more proof positive that our debt is completely out of control, higher interest rate for consumers, and that we're headed into another recession unheard of since 2008 when the mortgage industry imploded. So, and then you keep blaming Obama. But let's dial this back. Back in 1993, Bill Clinton and his NPR, I hate this crooked weave asshole, basically sought to reinvent government, created a multi-agency cooperative. They removed red tape, streamlined federal bureaucracy, and truly did cut waste. There were no meltdowns of agency. There was not a bunch of dysfunction. The junk that's going on now is not compared to what happened in 1993 with NPR. Doge is a dog, and most sleeping dogs should lie or be put down, because this is not working. What is also creating is a bunch of chaos. Y'all trying to pass a $1 trillion bill for what? And also at the same time, you're trying to crash the value of the dollar. Again, for what? And also you threaten more tariffs because Europe is not going to play ball for what? Again, all it's going to do is devalue our dollar, and it's going to make it more expensive. And all the value of everything that we lose, with the exception of gold and crypto, that is where we are. The last time we had some governmental surplus was through the workings of NPR. Way back. The work of NPR in 1993 through the election of G-Dub in 2001 created a over $160 billion surplus. Very little debt, and we were rocking along. Then it all imploded because of the lack of fiscal foresight with G-Dub. Then we had the economic meltdown. That is what Obama inherited. However, even in spite of that economic meltdown, our debt at that time, in the years preceding the election of 2016, was still less than $1 trillion. Then we saw through 2016 on through the pandemic, we saw a marked increase in the federal deficit from 2016 forward. Every gain that we had made in the previous 8 years, we saw melt away. There was an uptick during in the debt with the Bush administration years, 8 years. We saw a downtrend in the deficit with the Obama administration, contrary to the lies that have been told for the last 12 years. I don't count the last 4 years because even though there was a dramatic uptick after 2016 to 2020 and the pandemic, we still saw a decrease in our deficit up until currently 2024 to 2025. And according to the fiscal data provided by the Treasury Department, we have spent $1 trillion more than what has been collected in 2025. And we are not even in the second quarter good. But the only thing that we have changed, again, is the same fool that ran up the deficit in 2016. That wasn't Obama. Obama was out. He served his 2 terms, 2016 to 2020. Who did we have in the White House? Now who we have in 2025, we still over $1 trillion over budget. Where the deficit had gone down because of the shenanigans secondary to the pandemic. We saw a dip and now a dramatic rise. How you basically spend $1 trillion more than what you make. Where they do that at, except for Trump Industries. So now y'all are going to let this fool bankrupt. He's worth $5 billion, but all of his companies have gone bankrupt that bear his name. So you want this same fool to run our country bankrupt like he did. He gonna walk away with illegal gotten gains. And anybody that follows him, the top 2%, tax cuts, meme coins, trying to do some trickery with the stock market. Yeah, that's what's going on now. Basically canceling government contracts and giving those same lucrative contracts to your boys. Yeah, this is what's going on now. So y'all, this is what you voted for. I didn't vote for it. But the data says different than what the lies and diversion and shenanigans are going. All I can do is basically quote the facts. And if you can't stand the facts, then you don't need to listen to me. The fact is, 3 Democratic regimes. The first one started by Bill Clinton. Say whatever you want to say about Bill Clinton, but NPR and the government surplus that was pissed away by the Republicans started with him. Obama inherited crap the first few months of his presidency. He had to deal with the implosion of the economy, handled it well. We went back to having less deficit, but nobody got ran up out of Medicaid and Medicare to do it and got cut. You don't have to do that. You still can take care of your people, still have a functioning government without cutting yourself at the knees. That's why I can't stand with his sycophants. Again, out of touch and ill-informed. Mehmet Oz looked right dead in the camera and basically said, those states that did not expand Medicaid will get rewarded with higher payments because they didn't expand. So what are they going to do with that money? Are they going to divert it? Because not only did some of these states not expand Medicaid, Medicare, they actually kicked a lot of people off the Medicaid, Medicare, and CHIP rolls. So you need to get your facts. You basically are not telling the whole truth. You can give higher payments to whom? And not spend any money because they didn't expand Medicaid, Medicare, which affects your constituents disproportionately, but you kicked a whole bunch of people off. So and then nobody takes that insurance. So again, there is going to be no benefit. There's no benefit. It's a sum zero. There's a net zero in that nonsense. You're not going to spend money because there's no money to be spent on whom. All that's going to go up is indigent care that nobody is going to pay for. You're going to have this tremendous debt, bunch of sick people that defer care. So what are you talking about as you sit and talk from your house from Beverly Hills? You have no idea what you're talking about. So you need to hush your mouth and have many seats. So every time I am going to only point out the facts of what we actually are looking forward to. There's rumors of removing pictures. There's rumors of white killing squads. All of these things belie what is actually the truth. You're trying to basically penalize people for being poor, for not having commercial insurance, and you're doing nothing to support the least of us. You're therefore not supporting the poor, and you're basically trying to obliterate the middle class. Those are truths. What also is the truth is the national deficit was 8.3 trillion, which I think is a ridiculous number to have as a national deficit. But as of 2025, our national debt is trickling and sitting right at 36 trillion, and we've been downgraded. We've seen upticks on the national debt twice in the last 12 years, both times during a Republican administration. I'm just saying. I'm also saying every time I can't stop a multi-million-dollar parade for a felon, liar, draft dodger, but I can kick the truth and continue to be as petty as both Canada and China. Just remembering the one that you basically put your mouth on, President Obama, the only reason why you pick on the least of them is because you think you're armed with lies and you are basically catering to the racist constituency. But all of your policies continue to hurt that constituency that continue to believe and listen to your lies as if they were true. All I can do is combat the lies with the truth. And the truth was, yes, we were in a better position prior to 2016. The nonsense that's going on now obliterated all the gains for the prior 20 years. And this is what we're left with. And I will continue to point out that truth. I will continue to control my own debt and be in a position to move and take care of myself and maybe to help out if I choose to other people that could not shift as fast as I could. But what I am not going to is succumb to the lies and the diversion and the just craziness of what's going on now. I can only combat lies with facts and truth. And I only get upset if I'm actually proven wrong. And so far, I have not. And that's what a petty person will. I'm going to get to the truth, and I'm going to keep pointing it out, and I'm going to keep pointing it out because I know it's going to make you mad. Sorry. Petty is as petty does, and petty Louie, y'all. We're a messy bunch, the shady bunch, the shady bunch. I hope for checks is worth being part of the shady bunch. From blowing up cars to brutality, womanizing, trying to be on the DL, and just a lot of craziness that was whispered about, rapped about, and formed a large part of the misogynistic persona of hip hop. I'm talking about Sean Coombs. We finished up week 2 of a trial made of tabloid fodder. They're on a 4-day break for the Memorial Day weekend. And although I'm not going to do a play-by-play because, as I said in previous episodes, this trial is going to go on for 7 weeks. And the stuff, the dirty laundry that they're about to air out, I think is going to go on and on and on. And I probably, in all honesty, I don't think Chump is going to swoop in and pardon this guy, because I'm sure he is entertained by this, because this can be used as another diversionary tactics from the fuckery that's going on in DC. I didn't realize until I basically hit save. This week I'm recording most of the podcasts in segments on the taping or recording function, audio recording function on my phone. And each section, because my sister called me in between recording this segment of the podcast prior, I was going to name this Combs versus the U.S. Part 2, but in reality, it basically is Combs versus, it's not just United States, but it really is us. Because the 30 years that spans his career, he and everybody he emulated, from the likes of, what's his name, the Suge Knight, and a lot of the other bad boys, even Clive Davis. The reality, and that's Ethel trying to bark her way onto starring role in the podcast, but he embodied the misogyny that was known and tolerated through hip hop. He was allowed to operate with impunity, even though we knew of the shenanigans. We knew of people getting beat down and yelled at and treated horribly. Artists treated horribly and cheated out of their royalties. Everybody knew that, and they tolerated it because that's what they thought was the cost of doing business with Sean Combs. Kid Cudi had a lucrative career, but when he decided to have a relationship with Cassie, who in all due respect, she really was a side piece, and that came out during the trial. His car was blown up. Shine lost his freedom and was kicked out of the U.S., was deported, messing with Sean Combs. what was this is so stupid. That is one of the reasons why, until she went to her grave, Biggie's mama, one of the biggest stars, hated Sean Combs because of what he did to her son and a lot of the rumors. That's why they said Biggie never got his eye fixed, because he had to keep one eye on the game and one eye on Diddy. One of the rappers ended up basically camping out and leaving society, a producer, because dealing with Diddy in fear of retribution. One of the rappers, they used to clean cut. He was a nice looking young man. Has nothing to do with the game anymore. Has nothing to do with Combs anymore. Mary J. Blige. Anybody that we know of was once his artist. Basically, that was who was Bad Boy and made Bad Boy records. None of them have come into support. They're not sitting in the gallery. They're not talking about him in a positive manner online. It's just quiet, eerily quiet, because nobody wants to be caught up in the fuckery that was Sean. I look at the toxic masculinity. I had written this in my notes. How Puff idolized Suge Knight. And how we believe both of them plotted for the others, the death of their most popular stars for whatever reason. The brutality was known by groups like Danity Kane, but only one of those girls was brave enough to come forward, Dawn Richard. She witnessed Cassie's brutality, and those girls were probably also treated like crap. I didn't know Dee Woods, and I vaguely remember her. I did not know that she was a member, but had left Danity Kane back in 2014. But Dee Woods, I vaguely remember from an episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta, and her and Candy Burris went, and it's not B Woods, because I think that is the blogger, but Dee Woods actually was in that group, Danity Kane, and her and Candy went to the same performing arts school in Atlanta. I wonder what she knew. Shit, I wonder what Candy Burris knows. She's been in the game for 30 years. She knows the group. I don't believe, I would hope her mom would have protected her with his rat-looking self, Jermaine Dupri. But I wonder if they knew of and saw and were even subjected to some of the treatment known in hip-hop at that time, and how they survived and how further they would have gotten. I see everybody that worked for Diddy, from Paul, from George Kaplan, one of the his longtime assistants. So this really is the price of doing business with Puff. So this is the price. How much really did you get paid? And was it worth it? Was it enough? Because of what you actually had to live through and had to see and had to cover up and had to recover from. Is it all worth it? You saw the bruises. You've seen the videos. You actually procured the drugs in some instances. I think it's all just crazy to me. And also the doubt that the um, the defense could raise that his homes or Sean Combs' homes were not the typical homes. And even if you did find assault weapons in the home with the serial guns, the serial numbers scratched off, there were so many hundreds of people that actually have access to the homes. What exactly does that mean? It could have belonged to anybody because, again, illegally the serial numbers were scratched off. But I would go further to say, if you would find 10 to 12 possibly illegally obtained assault weapons, AKs and AR with the serial number scratched off in my bedroom, 9 times out of 10, it belongs to whoever's name is on the deed. And in this case, his homes in California and in Florida, in Miami, had such trinkets. All the Astro Glide and the baby oil. All of that belongs to whoever has possession of that crib. And in this case, whose name on the deed was Sean Combs. So you need any more evidence of his criminality? Well, you got some of it there. And what he would do to procure and to obtain or his version of order is they continue to build the case. But again, I said I would not do a play-by-play because a lot of what he subjected the world to, this toxic masculinity, misogyny, and out brutality. If you want that information, is detailed in the complaints. It's detailed in complaints from Cassie and other podcasters. And I'm probably going to take a break here to listen to this past Thursday's breakdown with Ebony K. Woods and Carlos King, because it was my listening to that breakdown last week that not only gave me support and what I was going to look up for this week, but it also is the basis of what I'm going to talk about next as far as the realty of reality TV and how Real Housewives of Roni imploded. So there you go. I think even from the perspective of Carlos King and Ebony K. Williams, and even without, I should say, the Roni implosion after a full cast reset was doomed to fail. We now have 3 instances where a soft reboot, and when you look at who a real casting and etc., how that goes with Real Housewives of Atlanta, OC, and Salt Lake. New York, a full reboot of Roni with a whole bunch of women that did not know each other was doomed to fail. You unleashed anyone new in that world without a Dorinda, who is old money, and Bethany, new money, that still knows where she comes from. Without those anchors, that's crazy. And also, Ebony K. Williams was way too black to be in a cast made up of drunk-ass Sonia, a newly sober Leah, and the Duchess. Even though she was in all honesty, I truly believe that Luann was only California sober. She acted way too crazy, and fell off the wagon too many. She was a saint, always on the work or on the cusp of sobriety, but I don't think she was absolutely sober for the extended period of time on the last 2 years or last two seasons of Roni. She tried though. Also, I truly believe that Ebony was way too black for this group of delusional, out of touch Karens. I think Leah deserves an apple, but she needed balance by Bethany and Dorinda, and just being allowed to be friends with other women as well as Ebony. But she wasn't like that other blogger that basically was a authority on anything but knowledgeable about nothing. Everybody needs a kooky white girl, and who was also loaded. I mean, don't get it twisted. Leah wasn't broke ass. Sonya is trying, but unless she was partially or California sober and she was willing to go to those meetings, she's at least teachable. I don't know about this Bershawn Shaw. She should remain a friend of. I think her story is compelling enough, being a survivor of advanced cancer. But she's on some Ayanla Fix My Life kind of ish. But she's completely untrained and absolutely crazy. So that's why I think she needed to be in the friend zone. Also, Luann, without the Dorindas and other people keeping her in check, I don't think she does not understand because she's still so out of touch. Just because she used to go to parties in Harlem, she still can be a Karen because she's still going to point out her privilege and why you need to apologize to her, because she gets offended when her lack of status and lack of education in somebody that has hard earned their positions outside, that didn't have to get married to get some type of title. I mean, you only did finishing school. You don't have 2 degrees. You don't have a home that you bought and refinished in Harlem in your own name outside of divorce settlement. So have a seat. Also, it should be very clear that fake allies like Kim Zolciak or MAGA maggots like Ramona Singer have no place on that network. They're not salvageable. They're hateful, stupid Karens, and they need to go away. I don't think there's a spot for Ramona Singer. I think she's too aligned and too satisfied with being stupid and a Karen. And she can't understand. Even though she's educated, I think somebody did her homework for her. I think she was allowed to cheat on tests. And I don't think she's grown beyond her thirstiness after her divorce from her fine ex-husband. She really just needs to stay all the way out of my face. Her conspiracy theories, her just embracing stupidity, all of those dumbasses need to be exiled to some dumbass island. I'm really petty and I hold grudges, and that's why I don't think she needs to be back on this show. And I think the people that actually should make it back is the Rachel Chevromonts, the gay Puerto Rican cast member, because If Jenna Lyons is not going to showcase her relationship and the reality of her life, at least Raquel did. Size new money storming Park Avenue. Jessel, who won't say that she really is an influencer, and that's how she basically has furnished her Park Avenue life. But I don't want to point out and be shady, but I am. I want to know more about Rachel Chevremont from how you go from a straight Hispanic powerhouse in fashion to a firmly gay powerhouse in art and fashion. How did you make that transition? What did your journey really look like? I want to see Erin, her recovery from crypto debacle. See how it is with her managing with her new baby. How she would vibe with the mom, Ebony, and with real money bitches like Bethany and Dorinda. I think they could have created a safe space for the Jewish Scientology, Rebecca Minkoff, to actually reveal how can you be a observant Jew and still support or have whatever faith that is with Scientology. I wanted to see more of that. Uber, you're a friend of, because if you can't give me more than your hot sauce or fibroid, I don't really need to see any of that and you screeching through your scenes. Same with Jenna. It would make sense with her being on with Cy Jessel and Uber because of her association with Ion in Dubai or Kiki from Miami. But if you don't have the same, if you could look to the Cynthia Baileys of the world and really fear, also Kiki, how you can actually be a friend of without the same stresses of a full-time housewife. That mean you could have been allowed to go on your shoots for your hot sauce, for your magazines, and live out your powerful existence and not, again, have to overreact during all whatever screen time that you would get. I would only want to see Bryn come back after therapy and only if the therapy actually worked. I think the stress of the housewife was too much for her to manage. I don't even think without therapy and a bunch of meds that she could even come back as a friend of, because she seemed hell-bent of an implosion. She was still too much of a climber with whatever business she was in. And I'm not going to see her lie her way through for a storyline. I'm not interested in that. Probably just on the same level as I'm not interested at all in seeing how Ramona Singer would fit with any of these cast members, because I think her maggotry would make it impossible for anyone to feel safe to be different in a new and improved dynamic cast. Ramona Singer would be the death knell for the success for any ensemble cast like Real Housewives of New York. I would hope that she would not represent what any of the housewives would be or you would want them to be. Because I think you can be dingy. I think you can be rich, but I don't think you can be hateful, dismissive, and racist. And that's who Ramona Singer represents. And that should not be what a housewife should represent. It may be kind of real, but I don't think y'all would want that type of bigotry to be on your screens. I know I don't want to see it. So I get it. I understand why Roni imploded. As I mentioned in previous section, I listened to last week's recap of, it was called Real Crime Thursday with Ebony K. Williams. And I decided then that I was going to take a deeper dive into the Real Housewives series. I don't think I wrote this last week sometime, but I don't think I actually, I hope I didn't talk about it or if this is like a recap of that. But on last week's Real Housewives of Atlanta, I don't think I'm off tomorrow, and as well as everybody in my company, but it's Memorial Day. I may stay up and watch this week's Real Housewives of Atlanta and may do my own recap of it while it's fresh, because I don't have to go to work tomorrow. Actually, the only thing I have to do tomorrow is wait for the pool guy from Imperial to come, Blue Pool, Imperial, I think, or Imperial Blue Pool, to come by and finish cleaning up my pool. In less than 24 hours, it's gone from green to blue, cloudy, but not green anymore. Former home of frogs. I'm all over it. And mosquitoes, child, because it pool that is not the right pH and is overgrown with algae, frogs, and evidently mosquitoes love that. But if you shock the hell out of it, it's going down. And of course, if you turn the pump on and it don't plug up, leaves its prime, it'll get all that crap out. So I'm looking forward to probably taking my first swim of the year. And then going forward, I'm going to plan on winterizing it from probably after Thanksgiving and through May, like this year. I'm excited about that. And I'm also excited about not accepting crap service from other pool service providers or anybody else. You just have to do your due diligence to look into who provides the service that you need and if somebody is honest and would recommend them. So there you go. Anthony and his crew, y'all are the bomb. And I'm excited about this new journey. But getting back to the tea on the Real Housewives. Look, Charles Oakley, I think, is probably one of the funniest individuals. How grumpy. He's like a grumpy old man. He's like a gray, fine man, too. I like his hair. Angela is stunning. And looking directly at her, and also her mama, oh my God. The shady apple doesn't fall from the big ass shady tree, because LaMargaret, Angela Oakley's mama, is shady AF. I just think that, but I'm here for her. I'm gonna need to see more of her. And also, Charles, if you're gonna be grumpy, don't be. I think he's like that all the time, and he ain't gonna put on for the cameras. He don't care, and plus he ain't getting paid, from what I understand, unless Angela's breaking him off like Cynthia used to do Peter. But who knows? Speaking of Cynthia Bailey, looking directly at her, and even short hair, 1993 Candy Burris, that's an exercise. We're talking about Black Barbie beauty. And that's what makes me so sad that we couldn't see her, Kenya Moore, and Shamia all in the same frame, because I don't think America is ready for that kind of beauty. And very natural beauty. I mean, there's a whole spirit with Shamia that I don't think the world is ready for, and definitely fake ass Portia Williams was not. And when she basically was begging Portia the Portia that's not on the camera. I don't think Portia had the bandwidth or the emotional IQ to be able to do that, because she, unlike Shamea, who mother, talented, in a great marriage, has a great career outside of Real Housewives, this is all Portia has. And she can't afford to look crazy, but she still looks crazy. And I don't think Shamea won't break the silence, but I wonder what happened between Miss Diane and Shamea's mom. Was it over her Portia's philandering father? Was it because, I don't know if Shamea's mom made a play for Portia's father, or did he make a play for her and then she told Miss Diane and Miss Diane got mad? I don't know. I just want to know more. And why nobody ain't talking, but they dropping these innuendos. I don't know. Or could it have been simple that they actually were completely divorced, and he dated Diane, which Diane's friend, Shamea's mom, but they were already divorced. But there some girl code that was breached? I don't know. I just don't think we're getting the full story. And them hinting around and talking outside of their neck without giving the whole story, it's getting kind of old. I don't know exactly. I didn't understand the conversation, but I don't think Portia actually received anything that Shamea said, because she's not emotionally mature enough to do it. About being real, present, accountable for being trash, I don't know what she expects. Was she expecting someone with everything that was going on in her life and with the same, now being a full-time peach holder, handling social media while having your career and having a special needs daughter? Was she really expecting Shamea to basically drop all of that and be the supportive ride or die that she was back in the day? No, because that would not be fair to Shamea, and it would be an unrealistic expectation from Portia. That's why I honestly believe that, I don't know really, because I don't know these people, if their friendship is over, definitely strained, because it seems like one friend, Shamea, wants Portia to be accountable in her ish. Yes, Portia's gone through a horrible divorce. Simon ain't shit. He ain't doing shit. And this is Portia's main meal ticket. But she cannot expect, again, another full-time peach holder, dynamic, beautiful African-American woman to diminish herself so Portia can outshine everybody, because she had her chance. And her moment was, she was supposed to showcase, and then maybe this is me being also super petty, but the fabulous Portia Williams we were supposed to get with the African Prince is not what we are and can get, because her husband has been exposed as a fraud and he may be getting deported. And the fabulous house that she has, she can't even show because his name is actually on the deed. If I would feel some kind of way if that is what I was supposed to present, but in reality, my sidekick friend has the strong relationship, fabulous house, paid for, got a gift, a $430,000 car because this child just turned 43. That was supposed to have been, she's showcasing, Shamia really is showcasing the life that Portia was supposed to showcase. And instead of her seemingly, now the roles are flipped and she's gone through her thing. Now she's coming off as a petter, bitter, jealous friend. Even with the weaves, even with the doe eyes, the big booty, she's still, from a materialistic standpoint, Shamia really is showcasing everything that Portia wants or wanted you to showcase. But instead of her presenting and being supportive of that and hyping her up, she's getting places 2 and 3 hours late. She's basically denying her friend's talent. And she's basically dismissing how it would really feel, that the realization of Shamia went from a very toxic and abusive relationship to a beautiful, decades-long relationship with a true Kenyan African prince who basically, by his own bootstraps, for what I understand, is like a very HVAC installation, is getting this brother paid. And is giving them a fashionable life. They don't even have a street name. They got, their house is actually, has a whole name for their actual dwelling. And what Portia's coming off, to me, instead of supporting her friend because their fortunes were changed, she's coming off as petty and vindictive. And she's also showing just how petty and vindictive she was, because what I probably would have should have happened in her mind is they were supposed to have been showcasing both their fabulosity and duel, and now she's mad because Shamia actually is, and Portia can't. So now she's throwing shade and doing these pettiness and not accepting, because she's going through something, but all of them are going through something. This could have been her, if now that they couldn't celebrate on that same level together, why couldn't she just have been the cheerleader? And it's saying, woe is me, diminish yourself so the little bit that I do have should shine. No. Nobody should do that. Real friends don't do that. And now she's showing herself to be the petty, immature, mean girl that she actually is. And with Phaedra coming back, I wonder if freaking F.A.A.F are going to compound the mean girl-ness of it all. I think it's sad. And I did mention on the last week's episode about Ebony K. Williams, and I did not realize until I had to go back and look at what that all meant. I also am going to pause here and give that its own section. Because that's why I'm glad I actually took the opportunity to go ahead and start recording this week's episode, because it's getting longer and longer. The more information or the more shows that I look at and then I come up with a lot of my take on these shows, the longer the episodes are. And I think my sweet spot's right around an hour and 15. But this episode is getting to be dragged on and on. But I'm still thinking that this week's episode, because Phaedra's supposed to come back, is going to be a monumental episode that I'm going to have to basically record and look at how everybody else comes to term and takes on Phaedra coming back. And if she's coming to play or she's just coming to look good and twerk with Portia, I don't know. This is one time that I'm actually really happy that I did stay up to watch Real Housewives of Atlanta. And then I got the opportunity to rewatch it today because there were parts of it that I missed. And this section really is a buffet of foolishness. I This episode, I don't know if it's one of the best, but it's starting to feel a lot like Real Housewives of Atlanta in the beginning, right after season 5, maybe season 6, when they were in the groove. Portia and what's her name, Kenya Moore, had just come on the show, been established as full-time peach holders, and the shade was real. And now this episode ended with phony Phaedra Parks coming back. She's looked like she's had some good works. I don't know if all of the individual segments were filmed at the same time, because the status of her boobs seems to change. What I did notice is she's proven that she has been in Atlanta for over several decades, and she's been affiliated with this show for 15 years, hearkening back until when she was lying about her due dates with her first child, Aiden. So I think she really has established herself as an OG, but it's just that I don't know if it's push-up. I don't know if she had them done towards the end, and that's when they actually, or the beginning, and then she had them done. I don't know. I don't know if it's push-up bra or what. It just seems weird where her boobs end up. She goes from square, flat-chested boy to SpongeBob SquarePants. It's just really weird. And I don't know if the rest of the audience has actually picked up on it. But anyways, that Brit Edie event was half-assed and cheesy. But it's Brit Edie. That's what I expect. I don't even know why she would actually have it at the country club, because I did not get. Her home was not given off of the country club. What it was, I don't even think she was a member. And Kelly pointed that out. You know, neighbors act like they don't even know you, because they don't. She's not a member. Girl's not a member. And it was given, the event planner came late. Nothing was set up. She didn't follow instructions. It was giving lack of payment, or Britt was expecting all this glamour, but she didn't want to come up off the cash. And yes, shapewear or retention wear does come in handy, especially on a golf course. When you wear pants, and even with some type of short skirts and stuff that you wear playing golf, the compression wear is great if you're going to be on your feet and walk in between holes, especially if you have lower back pain. So it does make sense if you have some good retention wear. So she couldn't even pull that off because she's not the sharpest tack in the box. So how can you have an event and you expect the people that you actually invited just to stand around and watch and to look and to celebrate you for what? So there were props, and they didn't even get a snack. Girl, bye. And it was just like Portia said, tragic. It was funny. Their faces were broke, and I would have been mad too, because I would have been hangry. It was rainy, and you couldn't even have me some chicken and waffles from Nana's. Girl, bye. Also, you give one little raggedy shapewear. And like Shamia said, no tissue paper. You give Portia small and fine Angela Oakley large, extra large. Who does that? You know, Portia's pinky toe can't even fit in that little retention wear. And with that big butt, girl, bye. Again, girl, bye. Drew is coming off really shady as hell, but her wigs and style are this. Her stylist is doing some wonderful things with that plain Jane, and I'm sorry to say that because her wigs were given out seasons past. She seemed to have pulled it together, or she just upped her styling budget, and I guess she really has to because she's trying to take the world by storm and to be the entertainer that she is. The event itself was actually very poorly executed. There was a couple of things that also seemed performative to me. Portia house shopping, and we know the status of she actually owns this home with Simon, but she's trying to evict his house. She's not having an upstairs downstairs thing like Drew and Ralph. And also Britt Eady, that having the event at the golf club, her and her husband's Kiki in the bathroom that looked like it was a hotel because I don't think that was their house. All of it was very performative. The only person that seemed to have it like that is Phaedra and Shamia. Kelly is going to get it like that. Angela's having some struggles and she's been realistic, and everything that we've seen from her so far has been, even with old cranky pants, Charles Oakley has at least been real. And she's clawing herself back out of this cesspool of debt. And I'm here to see how it all works itself out. But the Portias of it all, and her still beefing with Drew and the Dennis of it all, I don't know. It's just giving sour grapes, and it's also giving the jealousy factor. I don't think, and maybe that has something to also, I keep coming back to this, and I'm sorry, it keep coming back to, if we're best friends and I'm supposed to be the top bitch, why you should be able to dim your light so I can shine. But why do you have to do that if y'all are real friends? And that's why she's with like a dog with a bone. That's why Shamia is actually, she's giving Shamia such a hard time, and she's relegating her to friend of when she's definitely nowhere. She is that girl, and she feels comfortable in the shade and someone that allows her to be the mean girl of it all and fun. That's why she's leaning back towards phony F.A.A.F.O. And even in spite of what Phaedra did, she's still okay with hanging out with her and smiling in her face, as long as they keep it surface, because that's all she can. She only has the bandwidth for surface, but deep, meaningful, and support. Yeah, that's not her wheelhouse, I don't think. But she can't top that. Shamia is that girl, and Shamia is crazy. She said she forgot who she was beefing with when she did that interview on 103, and she is so hilariously funny. She got her Drew all the way together. Still calling that girl Portia's lapdog because she knows that is what would get on her nerves. But Shamia got her back. Literally gave her fat back. She was not here for the lapdog of it all. So, I don't know. They're going to have to get over it because I'm actually really tired of hearing about it. And they need to basically recognize what loyalty means, how it looks, and get you some, because that's the only way that you can get back on when you think about disloyalty and when you come out, when you feel some kind of way. So there you go. Oh, 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 You can take the girl out of the hood, but you can't take hood music out the girl. But I'm going to end this with a word, just as I started this podcast. Do or do not do. There is no try. And that's a word from Yoda. I hope I have conveyed just how much fun I have had in creating this podcast. I've got my mojo back. Just set your intention or reset your intention. It could be daily if necessary. Mine is peace. No mental dumping over here. If I'm acting like I'm not listening, I'm probably not. I'm not your therapist. I'm not a therapist. Keep the crazy to yourself, child. You do you and leave me be. The sooner you figure that ish out, the happy you will be. So this is what I want to convey in this podcast. And that wraps another of F.A.A.F.O has a fro. Join me next time as I throw shade and point out the shade and simply have fun. Y'all have a great new year. What? What, y'all? What?